What's up, people? Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association presents Reasonable Doubt here with the very, very, very special guest, ex-Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association president, always regular host on the show, longest running host of all time, the one, the only, the incomparable, Mr. Thomas B. DuPont. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, brother.
Fellow host and friend and amazing attorney, Justin Harris. Where you at?
Hey, man, I'm here. I thought you were going to say Todd had the longest hair. But yeah, longest host as well.
He does. He has been recently been confused with Benjamin Franklin and causing all kinds of mess on time travel, if it's true, if it's not, all over the internet and social media. We also have a few people joining us already on the interweb. Kate Farrell, give us a shout on the web. How you doing, Kate? That's it. She says what's up. We had to wait for that.
How does she join us on air?
Yeah, well, I mean, she can click the link. You know, I'm looking at this. Oh, Judge Morton's on the show. Judge Morton, what's up? Judge says last week's show was so much better, but Judge Morton, I'm going to say, with you on the show, now it's so much better. We should send him the link. Judge Morton's on the show. How are you doing, Judge? He says, cool. So,
good.
We're here live in the studio. We have Todd in his studio and Justin in his studio and Judge Morton and Kate hanging around. Where should we start, man?
It seems to me that the easiest point in terms of for Harris County are the ideas of should trials be continued at NRG. As we understand, the contract has been extended through the end of the year. So yes, there will be jury trials kept at NRG Stadium. So, I mean, I would think we would start there.
One of the things, so for those that are watching and those that don't know, jury trials have been extended at NRG Arena at least through the end of the year. Now, there's a couple new developments that we know about the NRG. The first one being, in no particular order, the first one being is that they have, so typically they have extended the amount of veneer panels that are available to seat a jury. So, for example, before a couple weeks ago, there was 4. So you'd have you'd have jury pin 1, jury pin 2, jury pin 3, and then you would have the stadium seating. Now, from what I understand, they have the second floor, so that will allow at least 8. So they have 1, 2, 3. I think there's 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. I have not been on the second floor. I don't know how it is, but apparently there are 8 juror selection seatings that are available.
That's available for civil courts, criminal courts, family courts. So
Right. And it's my understanding that I don't know if anybody's sat anyone on the upper levels, and so for example, I've sat 9 juries at NRG, and I've only been in 1, 2, or 3. I've never had the luxury of sitting in the stadium seating, but from what I understand, there are restraints for individuals in custody that they're only allowed to go to certain seating areas. And so I wonder if there are any prohibitions for inmates going to the second floor, and maybe if that's the case, then the second floor is reserved for people who are on bond or
the reality is, JB,
cases.
you and I and many of our friends are pretty in tune. This is not a shot to the judiciary. I'm saying we hear things probably almost immediately when they hear things, but we didn't know they were adding a second floor. They actually doubled down on having jury trials.
Right.
And clearly, we're now learning that the contract has been extended through the end of the year
So
at NRG.
I have a question on that, JV. How did you find out that about inmates only being allowed into certain veneer rooms or
Well, my ego is hurt.
stalls?
My ego is hurt, and I went and I said, why are other people getting the stadium seating and I'm stuck in these veneer rooms where the audio is messing up and doesn't work and it's not conducive to a good presentation? And they told me, well, because you seat the people in custody. You seat the worst of the worst. You seat the people who aren't in
Wait,
custody.
what?
So they can't seat the inmates in the stadium seating.
Because of security issues, it sounds like there are certain rooms for jury selection that they reserve for inmates versus bonded defendants.
Yes, that's correct.
So that question that raises for me is, if that becomes public knowledge and a juror finds himself in one of those rooms, are they going to presume that the defendant is in custody, which is the whole reason why defendants are not allowed to be shackled in front of a jury or in a jumpsuit in front of a jury? They're not supposed to know that. So even if they have someone who's on bond, the juror's mind's going to be that, well, now if they see your face in their JV, they're going to know you're representing the worst of the worst because you just outed yourself. But are they going to know that or presume that if they are in that room that ABC 13 reports is only used for people who are in custody? And this whole thing, the more we find out about this, the more this whole thing seems like a bad idea.
Typically, the answer is the court would likely inquire, but probably not off the bat, Justin. But
one of the things the other thing that I don't like, and that if anybody's sitting juries out at the NRG Arena, is much like when you're going into the courthouse, and it's just different, but when you go into NRG Arena, I typically have to get there and want to get there extra early so that nobody sees me walking into the building with shoes and a coat and the dress down. And because it's a big deal when I don't want jurors to know that I'm coming in dressing somebody I'm representing.
Oh, you're talking about not the suit that you're going to wear, but carrying another suit, tie, and shirt on a coat hanger that you're going to give to your client.
All the way to shoes.
And then they see that.
Yeah.
They see those clothes on your client and they know. Yeah, I've wondered how they handle that. But,
yeah, you have to sneak it in. Otherwise, you're literally walking in with them, and everybody's like watching you because you're the only person in a suit, and you're very obviously carrying in things. It's kind of the same way that you do at the CJC, but it sucks.
JV, it's not the same way.
It's not.
Yeah, no, it's very different.
The clothing would be not. They would never see clothing. You carrying clothing.
Right.
That's the truth.
I also heard that they're going to change the name from NRG Arena to the J. Julio Vela Jury Selection Plaza.
Yeah, right.
Y'all
say
You've done nine jury trials. There's only been like 100. So you've done like almost 1 in 10 jury trial has been yours.
About 10%. I will say that's ridiculous, and I'm not cool with that. Hey, Jeff Ross posted as on the COVID. It's something around 100 that have been sat. And it looks like we got a couple. So Troy Locklear got a big dismissal after suppression hearing yesterday or day before.
Yesterday, and the juror was sworn.
And apparently it had to deal with maybe some testimony from the officer that wasn't truthful. And And something regarding body cameras, that, you know what, body cameras were in play, and it turned out that, you know, what the officers were saying weren't exactly true.
Good job, Troy.
And y'all know Laura Autry? Laura Autry just got a not guilty on a sexual assault. I think it was yesterday or today. A lot of
Are you on
Autry.
showmethejustice.com?
I am, because I was looking at the jury trial stuff. Laura Autry's just kicking butt. So on the scoreboard, it's the state 77, the defense 47. So the state's kicking some butt. So it's been over 100 jury trials. Some of the there's two questions on the live wire that are already popping off. One of them by Jennifer Grant saying how many cases have been appealed, right? So far the state has won 77 jury trials in COVID times, and you know, a lot of us have lodged appeals, or at least preserved errors for appeals. And I guess the big question is whether these COVID objections are going to hold water and be sustained or not. I mean, what says y'all?
Yes, to me, yes is the answer. And well, I say yes, it's a viable appellate issue. Sadly, I don't believe that the current state of the appellate courts and the Court of Criminal Appeals will find this harmless.
You don't think that they will find it harmless, or you think they will?
That's my opinion. I do not believe they'll find this harmless.
You think it'll find it harmful? You think they're going to come back on it?
I think these are the same people that created a rule called harmless error, man.
Yeah.
Well, what do you point to on the appeal? Like, what's the issue?
We argue that it's unfair because of all COVID issues. While JV tried the first case down there, I filed the first motion down there, which was denied.
Yeah.
But the issues are raised, and quite frankly, I don't believe it's the judges that are down there. Their notion is that they want to make sure humans have their day in trial. At the end of the day, the question really is, and always has been since COVID, is can these humans have a fair trial with what's going on down here? Typically, our answer is no, like across the board.
I agree with that.
I think all of our objections that have been overruled will be sustained on appeal, man. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. It honestly is going to depend upon 9 humans that work in Austin. Because
you're right.
This
that's
is
why I
going
don't
to
have a
be
lot
taken up. Convictions will be taken up. And let's just call it like 10 years from now. If people look back 10 years from now, maybe 5 years from now, and say, you know what? Was that fundamentally fair? If the answer to that is yes, well, then those convictions stand. If it's fundamentally no, we're going to do all of this over. That's real talk.
Well, then the question is, do you think that, you know, they've had 70 plus 41, so it's really like, okay, so 80 plus 40 is 120 trials in the last year and a half. Was it worth it? Was it worth it? And, you know, maybe they'll have another 50 by the end of the year. That's optimistic. I know a lot of judges are canceling panels. Judge Amy Martin, nobody's having a jury trial for the next couple months in there, for example.
Well, I think that personally, I don't think that it's fair that you're going to get a fair trial in there under these conditions at NRG. I don't know how likely I think it's going to be that these things are going to get turned around on appeal, because we've just seen the courts of appeals look for every reason to find harmless error, find that error was harmless. And I don't even know if they're going to kind of call that this was error. They're going to say that there was a process that was followed. And I think that the issue with direct appeal is that you have 77 convictions. Those are the only ones that can be appealed. So you can't have these 124 cases be appealed. So you can only have 77 of those. The direct appeal deadline is 30 days. So you're going to have to turn around after 5 years or 10 years and look back and say that wasn't fair. And you have to look at an IAC claim, I would think. I'm not a post-conviction attorney, but I think you have to look at ineffective assistance of counsel. And if the attorneys are filing and making their proper objections prior to trial, I think the Court of Appeals is not going to give the defendant any relief and say, no. Their window for direct appeal to say that process was unfair closed, and then their counsel was affected by making the proper objections. Again, I'm not an appellate attorney. I don't know if on the writ they can get into the underlying
I'm
objections.
afraid you're right, bro.
But
I'm afraid all the district court judges are right. But that's not it is a bad thing, but the problem
it's a very bad thing. It's a bad thing for the people who go off and who don't get a fair trial. Nothing can be, the system is supposed to have checks and balances on it. It's supposed to work and strive for fairness, not strive for clearing out court's dockets. And that's one thing I'm going to disagree with you on, Todd, is that you said that the judges who are doing this to give a defendant their day in court. That may be the result that actually ends up happening, is you have a defendant having their day in court. And yes, there are always people who still want to go to trial under these conditions when they've been fully informed of the risks of picking a jury under these conditions. But we've heard from judges on this show, and we've heard from judges off the air, that the reason why they're setting cases for jury trial is to make the attorneys do their work, and to make, mainly what we hear more often, is to make prosecutors do their work. And the prosecutors aren't doing anything. They're not moving cases. The backlog, which is all, by the way, say it again, creation by the prosecutor's office of their own doing. That's why it seems like these cases are getting put to trial, is because cases are backing up and judges don't have or don't know of other ways to make them clear out other than set them for trial and hold people's feet to the fire.
So Corey Roth brings a big question on what are the current win-loss statistics relative to pre-COVID statistics? Currently,
I was going to say, Jeff Ross, his website crunches all those numbers. If he's got the post-COVID win-loss at 77-47, he should be able to crunch numbers on the ratio before COVID.
It was 77, and he had it broken down differently. It was currently it's 77-47, and then on the pre-COVID, I want to say it used to be on misdemeanors, defense was winning, and then on felonies we were down. Defense was down probably by like 20 or 30. Angela Williams Cameron says you're correct. Direct appeal will require the objection. No objection will result on an ineffective assistance claim on a writ.
Most lawyers are objecting to it. It's overruled. It's preserved. Well, I'm
right,
speaking
you're gonna have
for
to preserve
probably
it.
some of the lawyers that I know, but these issues have been preserved by objection.
But they're preserved for 30 days, right? For direct appeal?
Well, no, but if they get convicted,
right? Well,
and they go down for 30 years, like
on the appeal,
the court's going to have. I'm saying the Court of Criminal Appeals is going to have to visit with this.
Jennifer Grant, who's watching, says, has anybody experienced being forced to trial prematurely due to any COVID effect on proper investigation, or know of any other lawyers who have? I think what she's really asking is, what happens when there used to be the argument that, and it would fly, that, hey, look, COVID's going on and I can't go investigate and I can't go into the streets and talk to the people on the streets because of COVID. That used to be something that carried weight, and I'm wondering if that carries weight now. I don't think it does.
Well, my answer to her would be, I mean, we can call any witness or anybody. I mean, my investigators track humans down. So in terms of investigation, no. We call everybody and we track everybody down. COVID has nothing to do with answering a telephone.
I mean, that's true.
Now, if they don't, that's another issue.
Angela Williams Cameron says the first 3 trials in October, which I lost, and in October the PDO got the appeals on, which were mine, and I filed the continuance, and so the first couple of them, at least the ones that are on appeal, I filed is basically a tailored Todd's opinion, Todd's continuance. Todd's continuance had, I mean, what was it like? It was like a 15-page continuance or something.
26, but
26
that's
pages.
cool. I mean, but look, that was the points. Like, and it wasn't originally my motion. That was written by lawyers across Texas, man. You tried the first one. I filed the first motion.
Yeah.
However, my case worked out. Clearly the issue becomes that on conviction, if those issues are raised and argued, which I know that you're right in the front of it, JV. I personally believe it's something the Court of Appeals should look at. Am I optimistic they would give relief? I can't say that I am.
I agree.
By the time that they reach that issue, it might be a whole other Court of Appeals.
I agree. They should look at it, and I'll be curious to read some of their opinions and the analysis they do from Austin on this, or a different, because they a lot of these cases should reach the CCA from different things. We have to remember that every county was required by the Office of Court Administration and the Texas Supreme Court to provide their own plans for conducting safe jury selections during COVID. And so you're going to have 254 different versions, give or take. Yes, there's some districts that include more than that county. But you're going to have hundreds of different versions of this.
If it's subjectively unreasonable, and that's not going to work. I think it's going to have to show harm beyond harmless error. And honestly, I just do trial work, but honestly, that's going to take those justices sitting in Austin to honestly take a hard look at themselves and say, man, did these people get a fair trial? Because if they just push it off, well, then everything stands.
You're right.
I don't.
And it'll just be, and quite frankly, it'll be an unpublished opinion.
Right. Hey, there's something brewing. A couple of our viewers are asking about it. There's something brewing in Brazoria County, which if any of the viewers or anybody else can articulate. So Tom Selleck, a very well-renowned defense attorney that everybody knows if you're from Brazoria County.
Not the movie star.
Not the movie star, but I think I have seen him with a mustache as equally as appealing. States the Brazoria County Criminal District Attorney's Office recently received information indicating irregularities may have occurred in the Brazoria County District Clerk's Office's assembly of jury trial panels. Based on the information provided to date, the District Attorney's Office believes jury trial panels may have been assembled in a manner inconsistent with applicable statutes and law. As the District Attorney's Office continues to investigate the matter, appropriate further notifications will be made. Craig Hughes on the live wire just said the Brazoria County District Clerk resigned today. Wow. That's a big deal. So I wonder
I read that letter a couple times from from Mr. Selleck's office. That's a very carefully worded letter. If you read it a couple times, they chewed on that for a while before they put that out. And I don't know if that's because they're really, really not sure if anything happened, or they're just really trying to be careful to not tip off what happened. But I'm very curious as to what kind of irregularities and inconsistency with statutes they're referring to.
Well,
I mean,
Craig Hughes, board certified attorney in criminal and criminal appeals, just said that that district clerk resigned, and we're getting a good amount of banter on the live wire here. If somebody could articulate, if anybody has some insight on it, I mean, I won't, if you want to just message me, I won't read it. If so, so be it. But that's a big deal. I wonder for how long this has been going on, how many cases have been affected, and if the district clerk resigns today, I suppose they have some sort of like second.
Was it district clerk or county clerk?
The Brazoria County District Clerk resigned today.
That's incredible, actually.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
A district clerk is as important as a district attorney.
They are. I mean, they're responsible for, not only keeping the records of like everything, but impaneling and making sure that jurors come to court. All the ministerial.
I don't know enough about Brazoria, so I'll let the others chime. But that's incredible.
Yeah,
the true word of it, incredible.
Craig Hughes, obviously everyone knows it. District Clerk Rhonda Barchak, she's gone. That's incredible. And I wonder. That'd be terrible. I mean, she's the clerk's obviously in charge of facilitating and making sure everything's okay. But it begs the question: if that clerk came in and was just doing things as they've always been done, how far back is this issue? I don't know. Just something to think about. We're getting a lot of banter on. I mean, that came out today.
Well,
but nobody has. Is anybody saying? I'm trying to look online and see if there's anything about what they're saying was done wrong.
I'm gonna bring it back to Harris County.
Judge Fleischer on the show. What's up, Judge?
Hey, brother. The Texas legislature has passed that we're going to have a new district court judge, or court, the 482nd, which is weird. We don't have anything in the 400s, but now we do starting September 1. The people behind the scenes, I've kind of asked, do we know who's going to sit there? The answer is no. But since it's a created court by the legislature, the governor gets to pick who sits there until the next election. So,
dude, what they're saying on the live wire is that this malfunction from the district clerk goes back to 2011.
Ooh.
Well,
Craig,
that's a lot of cases.
Look, that's a statement by Craig Hughes. Craig Hughes, if you can, I'm going to send you the link. Why don't you come on and talk to us about what you think you know or what you say you know, because that is some big deal. 2011, that means every trial that's been had since
Send in
then.
Send in the link and see if Mark can watch and see if anybody.
Let me see if I can send homeboy the link. Craig, let me see here. That's incredible. Can you imagine since 2011
that's incredible.
I wonder what was the irregularity? You know what I mean?
Well, okay, so here's one thing. 2011 and 2021, one thing that comes out there is census data being released. I wonder if it has something to do, that's what I was initially thinking, is like who they were summoning for jury service in an area like Brazoria County, which is arguably somewhat segregated.
Not arguably.
Yeah, I was trying to be nice to the Brazoria County viewers, but we have a ton of them. Our host is from Brazoria County. But, you know, if 2011, 2021, if it has to do with, you know, racial makeups of jury panels based on census information, I don't know. I mean, the clerk's job should be so simple with computers these days. And I know Brazoria County's computer system is kind of getting upgraded, but I'd like to know what kind of irregularities are investigated.
Speaking of computer systems, how terrible has the district clerk site been running in Harris County for the last week?
Well,
Yeah, it's been a nightmare.
Please go ahead, Justin.
It's been a nightmare, and it's, you know, it's had a ripple effect because the district attorney's portal, the DA's portal that we can go through, requires like authentication through the clerk's website to get over to it. And if you can't get to the clerk's website, you can't get to the DA's portal and see their open file. So yeah, it's been a big problem, not just for us, but in the courts themselves. Judges have been like, I can't do anything right now, it's down. The clerks have been like, I can't do anything, our system's down.
My thought about it is clearly you always attribute the, you know, in terms of what the fuck is going on, seriously, to the highest person, which is Marilyn Burgess. But she sent an email yesterday, I believe. She claims her IT people are on this. But the reality is, I don't believe it falls on her shoulders, but it's her IT people.
Hey,
This week, last week, we can't work without internet in this building.
especially when they say, okay, everything goes to internet and the internet shuts down. Hey, I think we got Craig Hughes on the line. Craig, how are you?
Hey, Mr.
Can
Hughes, thanks for coming on. Yes,
Can you
sir.
hear me? Okay. Yeah, a lot of big news in Brazoria County in the last 24 hours.
What do you say? What do you know?
Yeah, give us a scoop.
Well, apparently, what we've been told, and I'm not nearly as informed as a lot of other people, but in putting together the panels and putting together the lists, there are indications that people in the north part of the county, mainly Pearland, have been disfavored. That the county, that the jury list have been slanted heavily in favor of the south part of the county, and there may be a
How would they do that, bro?
well, someone in the district clerk's list and in the district clerk's office, excuse me, or a group of people, basically when people would show up and the summons would come in, and this is again rumor, none of this has been proven, that certain groups of people were just sort of, their information was tossed in the trash can and they were excused, told to go home.
Though
Now,
they
I find
were
it hard-
given a summons to come to court?
They're given a summons to show up for jury duty. They go down there, and then someone somewhere makes the decision that people from certain parts of the county should be excluded on a routine basis.
How big?
Wow.
And let me
This
just give you an
is done
example.
Manually. Okay,
Well,
yeah. Go ahead.
Dennis, I second chaired a murder trial with Dennis Smith back in May. I live in Pearland. I live in Brazoria County. I would say that the two zip codes in Pearland, probably 30% of the population of Brazoria County, somewhere in there. And I think out of a panel of 100, we had 6 or 7
Wow.
for my zip code.
Wow.
So they've been heavily skewed, like I said, in favor of the southern part of the county, like Lake Jackson, Angleton, Clute. So that's the story. But the district clerk did resign today.
From there's people that are messaging me
We have
now
a
saying,
lawsuit coming.
well, they're saying right now,
Sorry, JB.
people are messaging me now saying that there's actually there potentially may be a grand jury that's investigating what's going on now. I mean, I find it hard to believe that this story just broke, right? Like, you'd like to think that this has been going on. People knew about this. This was a calculated thing, and it just kind of, it popped now. What says you, Craig?
Well, this is all happening in the context of what's going to be a highly contested election for district clerk. Rhonda Barchak had announced that she was retiring at the end of her term next year. You know, she would be up next year. And so there's kind of a hotly contested Republican primary, 3 candidates so far. A lot of the talk is that someone who doesn't favor her chosen candidate, provided this information to someone in the DA's office. So I had heard rumors that this was going to come out about a week ago. Another thing I would say, I heard that several employees of the office today were served with grand jury subpoenas.
Wow.
Oh,
That's
Yeah.
incredible. This is literally
Yeah,
I'm 77584, so I live in Pearland.
okay.
I will say that, and we have people here that are messaging me now saying that they have noticed that as well, that the makeups of the veneer panels and the people that are coming in aren't necessarily recently, okay? Because we've seen a big change in Pearland, North Pearland, 288, the Beltway that's coming in. There's not the Beltway, we have the Beltway, but the tollway.
brother, JV, what he's talking about is different, right? It's a systemic, this is actually what mass lawsuits are about against the government.
That's incredible. Do you think
Yeah,
that...
JV, you never would have thought that you being from Pearland would have been why you were a disenfranchised person.
I thought it was because of the color of my skin, but...
That's what I'm referring to. Not because you're from Pearland. Anyway, go on.
So we have... John Kahn's on the show. John Kahn, how you doing? He says he's only been... Yeah, John Kahn's on the show.
Where's he at?
He says, what's up? John, how you doing? Craig, you know John? John Kahn?
I believe so.
Yeah, you know John. But he says, he lives in my zip code as well, and he says he's only been called for jury selection once in 20 years, and we're North Pearland. Now, I will say that we have seen a big change in the demographics of North Pearland, of North Brazoria County in the last 10 years. I've lived down there for 10 years, 13, and it has changed greatly. Do you think that, now everybody knows Tom Selleck down there. Everybody's known him for, I don't want to date him, but for a minute. Incredible, amazing reputation, amazing defense attorney. What is your opinion as to whether is a lot of this investigation or brunt going to fall on him, and how do you feel like, what's your opinion of him, of where this needs to go or how it's going to go?
I think a lot of it is going to fall on him, and I think he's going to possibly encourage the filing of a lot of writs. I do.
As a defense,
well, let's back this up a little bit. Craig, would you mind? I appreciate you coming on. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but explain to us, just kind of lay it out, what the rumor mill or what the allegations might be of not including as many North Brazoria County residents on jury panels and on actual sworn juries, what that can do for outcomes of cases.
Well,
what does that mean? What does this mean for us?
I think generally speaking, the people who are, in the southern part of the county, my experience has been that they tend to be a little more pro-state. People in the northern part of the county, I've tried a lot of cases down there. You see a lot of Rice professors, you see a lot of U of H professors, a lot of medical center people, of course. Generally speaking,
Craig, real quick, this is in the same county, but just different parts of where they live in the same county?
Yes, the southern
In
part.
Brazoria County?
Yes.
Okay.
Now the southern part is very different, in my opinion. Demographically, I would prefer jurors from this side. That's just
The
my
northern
personal
side.
preference. The northern side, right. And another weird thing that's going on down there, I mean, Jerry Yenny, resigned last
Mhm.
year, just announces one day that she's resigning. Sally gets appointed. I think two of the district court judges, or is it three? I think two of the district court judges have retired. Two of the county court judges are retiring. And there's going to be some massive turnover in that courthouse, in the next election. And I've been hearing rumors that a lot of that is related to this. There's nothing.
Would they be ours though?
Would they be what?
ours over there?
Oh, yeah.
Republicans.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the district clerk, she is a extreme R. So.
Well, and so that's the thing is when you say that you would prefer to have jurors from the northern part and that the ones from the southern part may be more state oriented, that's the whole purpose of having this mixture and this good cross section of people from all across the county, so that when you get them all in a room, you can find out, regardless of what part of the county they live in, who's a qualified juror, who's not a qualified juror. And so when you skew it one way or the other, you're skewing that pool of qualified jurors.
Right.
And for a defendant, but also I've seen case law that actually looks at your disenfranchising, like under a Batson challenge, you start disenfranchising certain members of a community from being able to participate in the, one of the most American parts of our system, which is jury duty.
Right. And anyone who practices down there, I'll tell you, particularly within about the last year, it seems that every defendant who's selected jury punishment has been maxed out, every single one.
Wow.
So, I've noticed a real trend in that direction in the last year or so.
Do y'all, is it shoot your foot off if you just go to the court?
For the most part, I think, yeah.
I don't mean to be ugly to the judiciary, but I'm saying you're better to go to the jury, even though the court, might max you out.
It's a much closer call now than it used to be, particularly within the last year.
It can't get any worse than the max from the jury, so why not go to the judge?
Right, exactly.
Excuse me, y'all.
Is Tom Selleck, if he's going to, of a lot of the burden is going to shoulder on him to investigate these things, is he committing political suicide in that county?
He could be.
Right?
He could be, yeah. But, I don't know. I think he had only planned he's finishing out her unexpired term, and I think he was going to run for one more term. I think Tom is 65, 66, somewhere in there. I could be, but he's a little bit older than I am. But my understanding was he was just going to run for one more term.
So what would be the remedy since 2011, since these things have potentially been going on? That's incredible. Writs for everybody?
Pretty.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hearing from people who basically, because my practice is probably about a third Brazoria County, but the full timers, I've been following a lot of discussions today in these group texts, and there seems to be a group that thinks he's going to really encourage, an investigation to look into this.
How did it break? How did it break at the courthouse?
Well, I did that letter that he sent out last night, I think, is when most people got wind of it. Like I said, I heard rumors about a week ago that something big was coming with respect to the jury process. But then last night is when it really broke wide open. And apparently she went in this morning and resigned. I mean, so.
Just said, I'm out.
It said, I'm out. And in fact.
Yeah, he's already got the letter like on the very top of his website.
Right.
Dated yesterday.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm not saying I would, but I don't do this litigation. But a federal judge in Harris County, I'm saying in Houston District, would enjoy this litigation.
Right. Exactly.
That's
because
it would not go well. It would not go well for the county. Who do you hold responsible for this?
Wow.
Like the district clerk, the county at large? Like, what's the cause of action?
I mean, I think the district clerk
It's a
primarily.
violation of due process rights, Justice.
Well, on the individual cases, sure, reversal, new trial. But if there's a big lawsuit, like what's the cause of action? Who you go after?
Right. You know, another big question mark
You
that's
sue
hanging
the
over this.
county.
Yeah. Is why, you know, why would she do this? Why would people in her office do that? That's been sort of the, you know, the real unanswered question today. What was her motivation? I mean, what was she getting out of this? If this is in fact is what was happening.
Did is the district clerk down there a part of the? I mean, I'm there, but my vast majority of my practice is 98% of my practice Harris County.
Right.
I mean, I'm in Brazoria once a year.
Right.
Is the district clerk down there part of the daily hustle and bustle of the courthouse, or is she like in Harris County? You know, we don't see Marilyn Burgess and we don't see Snively. We don't see them around. Is the district clerk down there part of the hustle and bustle and part of the legal community down there?
Yes, she's very visible. She was a court reporter before she was elected district clerk, and she's been there, I think, since the late 70s, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And
so,
it had to happen in Brazoria County. So it's
Right.
like,
Hey, JB, you and I are going to talk tomorrow.
that's incredible. Jennifer Grant on the live wire here asks, any complaints on the civil side? Well, I think it would be both sides. So it's whether or not, it doesn't matter if it's civil or criminal. I think it would just go to the veneer makeup.
right.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
I mean, I think there's some people that may have gripe on that end as well.
Wow.
So it's just stay tuned. Stay tuned. I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be very interesting. I just shut him down. So I think it's going to be very interesting the next couple of months to see what we learn.
Have there been any rumor mills or any ideas as to who's going to replace her or replace the clerk's position?
No, and I'm trying to find that out. I did hear a rumor though that they're going to announce it tomorrow. Also, I know that they have started canceling. They've started canceling jury trials through the middle of September. Several calls. Yeah, several calls were made today about that you don't need to worry about it. You're going to get reset. So
Thank God, because I have one next Tuesday.
I think you're safe.
Yeah, one of my I have a year, and I'm thinking, and I was moving for a continuance, but I think I'm fine for that now.
You're going to be safe. Don't worry about it.
Katie Farrell says the national headlines are going to write themselves.
Yep.
Small rural county in Texas. You know, Brazoria County is not as small as all these people think it is, though. It's a big county.
400,000.
400,000. And you know, with the influx that's coming in on North Pearland, it's there's the face of Brazoria County is changing. It really is, in my opinion.
Yeah, look at all those neighborhoods coming in, on 288 south of Highway 6.
Yeah. Iowa Colony is not the same Iowa Colony it was 10 years back.
Not at all.
And you would never know it if you showed up for jury duty that there was that many people in North Brazoria County.
I was wondering why I was the only Mexican when I showed up in jury duty a couple years ago. I'm sitting there like, I know there's more of us somewhere, I swear.
Yeah.
Craig, have you tried anything up in Harris County?
Yes.
Since COVID?
No, not since COVID.
What have you tried any in jury trials since COVID down in Brazoria?
Yes, one.
How was it? Talk to us about it. Where was it held, and what kind of procedures were in place for the COVID procedures?
So jury selection, the First Baptist Church used to be right across the street from the courthouse, closed this summer. And so jury selection in our case was held in the gym at the First Baptist Church. And it was just, the panel was awful, just absolutely awful. Like Dennis Smith was first chair. But I think I tried my first case down there in 96. by far the most pro-state veneer panel I'd ever encountered
In
down there.
96 or when?
1990. Yeah, I've been trying cases there since
No,
1996.
but I'm asking the one you tried in 96 or the one you just tried?
The one we just tried.
Okay.
This is
Yeah.
what we were concerned about as well at NRG, that the panels were going to be so pro-state. And you're telling well, number one, there was the fix was in, obviously we know that now, but you're saying that it was just the most pro-state panel that you'd seen?
It was awful. And again, it's happening to everybody. Everybody who's gone down to trial down there in the last year or so, I would say 90% of the defendants have gotten maxed out by the jury.
Oh, gosh.
Hey,
Wow.
let me ask you, Craig.
Gosh.
Are you following COVID motions?
I didn't file one there. I filed one in Harris County. I have filed one in Harris County.
What-
But I have
I'm
not
not
followed
trying to
it.
split you. I'm saying just maybe to preserve the notion that maybe that we're not having the best veneer panel to come down, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, he's
Yeah, I
already
kinda-
got that in the bag. He may sell it, just making
Yeah,
sure of
because
that.
the fix wasn't. What is
Yeah.
the
I
what?
know, but quite frankly, unless somebody sues that clerk, this is just going to go by the wayside as a bad story. JB, I'm going to talk to you about this tomorrow.
What's the judicial sentiment? What's the feeling about trying cases down there? Is it cautious? Is it like, look, we have everything fine, jury trials, let's just go? What's the feeling down there, Craig?
For the most part, it's let's go. I would say of the 5 district judges, 3 have been pretty gung-ho. We're going to trial. We're going to do whatever it takes. Only 1 has been cautious. Judge Huffstetler in the 300th District Court has been very cautious. He hasn't been pushing people. If you want to continue it, you're going to get one. But Terry Holder in the 149th has probably been the most gung-ho. Justin Gilbert in the 412th, he's been putting people to trial. The 461st. So the attitude's been pretty, we're going and they've been pretty gung-ho.
Are when you seat the jury and you go to where are you seating them, in their regular courtrooms, or are you when the trial commences, are you in the large courtroom?
You're in the regular courtrooms now. You're not in that ceremonial courtroom on the 4th floor, but you're in the regular courtrooms. And the jury selection now has moved to the commissioner's courtroom on the 1st floor, which is I'd say it's a lot better. It's not ideal, but a lot better than that gymnasium. The gymnasium was awful, terrible.
Are they providing microphones and things like that, or no?
No.
So is
Really?
the gymnasium on the bleachers, or are they chairs on the floor?
Are you talking about in the gymnasium?
Right. How are
There
they
were
doing that?
chairs on the floor.
So everybody's spaced apart. Okay.
Right.
And then I
right.
imagine it's one panel at a time in the whole.
Right. But they've in fact, I think the gym has been torn down this summer. The church they've moved. So that building is pretty much gone.
And
But
there's no microphone. You're just yelling.
yes, and it was awful. Dennis did it. I was second chair. I wasn't that active in the trial, but it was terrible. They've tried non-death capital down there earlier in the summer. A friend of mine, Carrie Fadden. So they've been doing some serious, trying some serious
Hey.
cases.
I'm asking, did Kerry object to that situation then?
I
Clearly.
believe that he did. I think that he did.
I would imagine he would have to have.
Yeah. That was
Hello,
all.
Kerry.
Yeah.
Some of that shit's coming back, man.
Yeah. It has to.
It sounds like all those will come back thanks to the clerk's shenanigans.
And in the courtroom, is the jury seated in the jury box, or are they in the gallery?
They're in the gallery.
And are they closing the courtroom to public then?
They for regular non-trial dockets, yes, for the most part they are.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love this
But they-
because, yeah, I love this. We haven't heard much, we haven't had any insight into Brazoria County, and you guys are having trials down there.
Yeah, they were not very careful at all the first 6-8 months. I mean, they were bringing people down there for misdemeanor dockets. The courthouse was always crowded. They really were not being careful at all. Then they sort of swung in the other direction. Just they were ultra cautious. Probably the biggest hassle there now is the sheriff has decided he's not going to transport inmates from the jail anymore. So if you want to do a plea, you got to go to the DA's office, get the plea papers, drive 8 miles out to the jail, get your guy to sign, bring the plea papers back, then your plea gets set for a video conference. And so, a lot of planning has to go into a jail plea now, and it takes a lot of time.
Hey, I'm
So
not.
that's
I'm
another-
not taking no deal. I ain't taking no deal. Last second, right? Last second.
Right.
Forget it.
You get out there and I'll take 12 months, but not 15 months. And,
Yeah,
you got
no.
the papers there and it's just, anyway.
That's
So that's kind of
incredible.
what's going on in Brazoria County. All in all, it's a little less friendly place to practice now for us.
Hey, Craig, thanks for coming on. Just a shout out, bro.
Not a
Greg.
problem.
Yeah, thanks a whole
I've been
lot.
talking much. I apologize.
No. We
this
kept
has
you
been
on. We have 30 seconds
Thank
left on
you.
the show, man. And Krista Hall, a famous court reporter over here in Harris County, says the court reporter would say no to. She said court reporters would say nope to all of this.
Right.
I can't imagine it, man. And I can't imagine the disarray of the clerk's office that's going on. John Kahn, real active, says he has civil trials that are being pushed and he's ready to go. John, we know you're ready to go all the time. I'm just saying. Hey, look, Craig, thank you so very much for giving us a scoop down in Brazoria County, man. You are always welcome on the show, and I can't wait to see
Yes,
you in the
please.
courtroom and kicking butt all over the place. Thank you so very much.
Sounds good.
Board certified criminal trials and appeals. Craig, thank you for coming on, my man.
You're welcome. Y'all take care.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay.
Todd DuPont, past president of HCLA and host of Harris County Criminal Law Association. Thank you, my man.
Thank you, Todd, very much.
Justin
Okay.
Harris. Thank you, my brother.
Hey, I'm
Thank you.
out.
Yep. JV, I hope you get called for jury duty sometime.
Hey, well, they don't call Mexicans over there, man. They're like, nah, North County, yeah.
Not the ones from North Brazoria.
Yeah, your zip code is too north or whatever. No, yeah, right, dude. With that being said, J. Julio Bella, Justin Harris, Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association, Reasonable Doubt, with Kate Farrell on the show, and Judge Morton. Why don't you, Judge Morton says a good show. You the best, Judge. Hey, with that
Thanks,
being
Judge.
said, hasta luego, adios amigos. I'll see you next week.